normal human beings, also known as the prophets and the messengers, the righteous ones, the saints, become special because they have an encounter. They have an encounter with beings that appear to be human, but they're actually not normal humans. The ones that they are encountering are people that came from above.
Wow.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الإمام المهديين وسلم تسليما السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear sister Tiffany Oldani.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Good to have you back. So today we're going to talk about the topic of extraterrestrials and UFOs and their connection to the divine religions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
Okay?
It's an interesting topic.
Yeah. So there is this phenomenon that has happened from the very beginning of time, from the very beginning of mankind's history. And that is that there have been these tales, these stories, events that were preserved in the artwork, or the myths of different cultures and civilizations. If you go back to the days of the caveman, you have preserved till this very day the caveman's art. He would draw things on the walls in the caves. You would find in there scenes of people, and they're chasing with spears woolly mammoths, or they're chasing with spears buffalo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so people came to realize that, these were drawn by people of ancient times.
Yeah.
They would experience something, or something would take place in their day. What would be important in their day? What would they need to utilize their energy on? What would be the highlight of the year? Maybe the highlight of the year is when the whole community, the town, the family, they went out, and they were running, chasing these bulls, and they captured a bunch of them, and it gave them enough food for, a gigantic feast. And they were happy about that. And therefore, after this experience that they had, the children or the elders sought to preserve the story. And so they painted it on the walls.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you have something interesting that would take place. You would find all of a sudden these images of objects that are in the sky that people have not really been able to tell what are these things, as well as paintings of beings that do not look like the rest of the human beings that were drawn or painted on the cave walls, right?
Yeah.
Ones that look different. Perhaps they have bigger eyes, or they have strange hair, or oddly shaped heads or arms.
Yeah.
The same thing takes place in other cultures and in other civilizations, where they have natural events that are being depicted in their hieroglyphs, or in their artwork that is surrounded by hieroglyphs, or in their in their drawings, their murals, depictions of kings that are conquering certain lands. In ancient Egypt, you have lots of images that are drawn, murals on walls or in tombs that depict the accomplishments of that king. If he went to war against a nation and he captured the king, they would draw that captured king on the ground being held by his hair, or about ready to be slaughtered, or at the feet or at the mercy of the Egyptian king. And so once again, even in Egyptian civilization, as things shifted for human beings from the cave to greater, larger civilizations, such as the Babylonians or the Akkadians, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Phoenicians. They depicted their history. And just as the caveman drew oddly shaped human beings or things that were in the sky, including the sun and the moon, but also other objects that are unidentified, you have over here in these civilizations, you find them being obsessed with depicting the heavenly bodies up above.
Okay.
And many of them depicted them to such a highly detailed and correct extent. And there are examples of that in South America, where certain cities or towns were constructed to mimic the solar system up above, or to reflect the solar system in the very design of the city. And you have other examples, which Zachariah Sitchin and other people have pointed out, other researchers and authors have pointed out, where the Babylonians and the Sumerians have depicted in their artwork the sun and the moon and the exact number of planets that are in our solar system that are rotating around the sun. And they found this fascinating. Mm. And in addition to that, they had depictions of other objects that were in the sky, as well as other human beings that were painted differently than the rest of them.
Okay.
Some of them come in the form of having a different skin tone or a different color. So you have, for example, in the ancient Egyptian civilization, paintings where you have the Egyptians painted in different tones of brown and sandy color, right? Yes. Or beige, their skin. And you find really in Egyptian society today that the people in Egypt have that type of skin tone.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have them depicting the people that came from African nations as being very dark brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would paint the people's skin and depict their faces as they would see them.
Yeah.
And yet they would also paint images of other beings that their skin tone was either greenish or bluish,
yeah,
such as Osiris.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
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 And the Egyptologists and the historians have tried to explain this by giving some sort of, allegorical meaning to it, or some sort of deep meaning, and they shift away from the we see, therefore we paint, to preserve history as we saw it, as it happened, to one of, giving a deeper meaning behind things, or trying to philosophize on why it is that these people were depicted differently in an attempt to normalize the explanation. Because not only that, but they also come across these half human, half animal, hybrid type creatures that are painted. For example, you have Horus, who is one of the ancient Egyptian gods, and he's depicted as having a falcon head,
yes,
and a human body. You have Anubis, who is the god of the dead, and he is depicted as having kind of like a jackal's head and a human body.
Yeah.
So, archaeologists, they wondered, what is this? And they contemplated, and they dismissed the idea that these creatures that are being depicted could have really existed in real life in that form, or that the ancient Egyptians could have saw such a thing.
Yeah.
Because we don't see that thing today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they say, for sure, this is, something that has a different type of meaning to it.
Yeah.
They find the same theme occurring in the statue art, where the statue makers would make normal statues of human beings, such as Ramses. He's sitting on his throne, as they saw them.
Mm-hmm.
Statues of Akhenaten, sitting with with his wife, as we saw them. They don't have like any other skin tones. They don't have or weird colors. They don't have any sort of animal hybrid aspect to them. It would just be them, the king, sitting on their throne. And then we have all these other statues, which are of the gods that are mixed animal-human hybrids, and other entities or creatures, such as the Egyptian Sphinx, that is famous and known, and everybody knows that it's a lion's body, but with a human head.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would be depicted as being winged, and other times they would not have wings, like the Great Sphinx of Giza or of Egypt, the one that's by the pyramids. And this fascinating thing, it carried on, and you found it in other civilizations that were separated from Egypt by large distances. You know, like you find in the Babylonians, they have these giant, and in Iran they have these giant lamassu type creatures that are half bull, half human. A bull's body, a human's head, with a gigantic beard and a crown on top of it and wings.
Yes.
You know, so these animal-human hybrids with wings is a recurring theme that happens. And you have also in the Greek and Roman cultures similar things where you have, for example, whether it's Pan, who's a creature that is half human, half goat. From his belly above is human, from his legs down, the belly down is a goat type creature. You have the Pegasus, which is a horse with wings. So you have this theme again of either animal-human hybrid or animals that are not supposed to have wings that have wings. Yeah. The Minotaur, which is half human, half bull.
Yes.
People wondered, what are these things? And then they kind of dismissed them as being like something of a mythological story, or a legend, or something which represents like, a guardian or something that's made to ward off or scare off the evil spirits or people that are coming to kind of like desecrate the tomb or desecrate the holy area.
Yeah.
And then they became associated with being angels when we shift over then to Judaism. Why? Because in ancient Egypt, so you have now these beings that would be sitting there. You have Anubis, he would be sitting on top of these tombs that they would build. You have these winged creatures and winged humans that would be drawn on the sides of the different arcs or tombs that the ancient Egyptians used to build, like the Ark of Horus and other than that. And when Moses went out then of ancient Egypt and he met God, in the incident of the burning bush, what does God command him to do? God tells him, because God now is dwelling, his spirit is dwelling. The Shekinah, which he's taking as a wasila or a way to communicate with Moses, is dwelling in this bush.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires Moses, it commands Moses to build for it an ark.
Yeah.
And he builds for it an ark made out of wood and plated in gold and specific dimensions. The interesting thing about this command is what, Tiffany? Is that he tells him to build something on the top of the ark. Yeah. What is it that he asks him to build?
Two winged angels who are guarding the seat of mercy. So, I guess wings then become associated with angelic beings, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So now what? So now what the ancient Egyptians were doing, Moses is commanded to do.
Okay.
The ancient Egyptians are using arks, right, to transport the belongings of the king. They're used in funerary processions. They're placed inside of the arks, these jars that contain different organs that belong to the king, right?
Yeah, they cannot be jars.
Exactly. Yeah. These arks were being used by the ancient Egyptians that were depicting these sphinxes and these half animal, half human hybrids, and that had people painted that had different skin tones and different colors, and that on top of the ark there would either be the head of Horus guarding it, or it would be a statue of Anubis that would be guarding it. God commands Moses to make an ark like they had an ark.
Yeah,
and where were they coming out of? They were coming out of Egypt.
Yeah.
And in the place of the Anubis that's guarding the ark from above, what did they place? They placed 2 cherubim.
Yes.
The cherubim, these winged beings, humans with wings, were already being depicted in ancient Egypt on the sides. They were drawn on the side of the arks themselves. And so it's almost like God was confirming this idea that already existed and that the people in Egypt had, that there is such a thing called an angel, right? And either they literally had physical wings, or the wings were used as a symbol in ancient Egypt to depict people that came from the sky. Because a wing does what? Wings do what? They help a person fly. That's why birds, they have wings. And where do wings take you? They take you into the sky. And so where is the heavens? It's up above. Where are the angels from? They're up above. So if you want to depict an angel, a simple way of saying it, to people that don't necessarily know how to read and write, is to depict a human. But the human is different. What's the difference? He has wings. Why? Because that human that has wings, he came from above.
Wow. I mean, this is extremely fascinating. I mean, talking about this connection between all of these ancient cultures and how they had this concept, and it's appearing in the artifacts that we have, the artwork that we have, but nobody has the explanation exactly of what this could possibly symbolically mean, and then tying it to the Abrahamic religions and how there's this clear connection between what the ancient Egyptians were doing and what God commanded Moses to do in building the Ark of the Covenant. And this connection between the Abrahamic faiths and these ancient civilizations is really fascinating. It's the first time I've ever heard somebody tie all of these things together.
Yeah. So then what happens, Tiffany? So then, now you have this Spirit of God speaking to mankind from behind the wings, or between the wings of those 2 angels.
Yeah.
So then what is God trying to tell us? And what was he trying to tell Moses and the Israelites by doing that? Well, the very simple apparent meaning that could be withdrawn from that is that what? Is that, okay, well, these 2 humans that are on top of there, that have wings, they come from the skies, they come from the heavens above, they're angels. And most importantly, they are the protectors, the representatives, the messengers of God, and God speaks through them. Yeah. God speaks with them. God speaks from behind them. So it was a confirmation of the status and existence and importance of the people. Now, there's something even more fascinating, Tiffany.
Okay.
If we go now to the Bible, the New Testament, the Gospels, right? What do we find in there? We don't find it in the four Gospels, but we find it in the book of Revelation, that there's this man who has a dream, and he gets to see the heavens above. He's transported there. He witnesses the throne of God. He sees the 24 elders that are around. He's seeing the highest stations, right, of the heavens above. And then he finds something. He finds 4 beasts. Yeah. Beasts, he calls them, creatures.
Yeah, living creatures.
That are surrounding the throne of God. What are these creatures and beasts that are surrounding the throne?
They have, now that I'm thinking about what we're talking about, they have this combination of animal features and human features, and also wings.
Animal-human hybrids with wings. Can you believe that?
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. And it never occurred to me that, all of these things are tied together. Wow.
So one of them has a human face, but he has wings.
Yes.
And the rest of them, they have animal faces, but they have wings.
Yeah.
And they're described, all of them, as being cherubim.
Yes.
The same cherubim that were on top of the Ark of the Covenant. Right?
Yeah.
The same beings then that we see in the ancient Babylonian culture and in the ancient Egyptian culture. And then that means what? That means that the ancient Babylonians, Sumerians, and people that were depicting these beings, the ancient Egyptians, what they were depicting was actually angels.
Yeah, clearly. Clearly. That's extremely fascinating.
Or those beings that they would see and interact with that they knew came from the skies above.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. So here's what I mean by that, Tiffany. If we look in the Bible, what do we see happening? We see that it is filled with stories where there are normal human beings, also known as the prophets and the messengers, the righteous ones, the saints. Normal human beings that become special because they have an encounter. They have an encounter with an angel of the Lord. They have an encounter with beings that appear to be human, but they're actually not normal humans.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it scares those individuals. And the only difference between them and the people that they are encountering is that some of them are human, and the other ones that they're encountering, so the prophets and the messengers and the saints are the ones that are human, and the ones that they are encountering are people that came from above, that they're angels.
Okay.
Examples of that is Joshua, son of Nun. When he's in the middle of the battle, what happens?
The angel of the Lord appears to him and speaks to him, and he falls down in prostration to him. And the angel of the Lord gives him instructions on what to do next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Balaam ibn Ba'ura, when he's on his donkey and he's headed towards, to send the curse down on Moses, and the donkey doesn't move anymore. Why doesn't the donkey move? The donkey doesn't move because it sees something which Balaam doesn't see at first. And then when Balaam is able to see, what does he see? He sees an angel of the Lord standing, blocking the way, holding a sword.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
We have Mary, mother of Christ.
Yeah.
Who came to her?
The angel, Gabriel. He came to her and gave her the news.
What about Mary Magdalene when she went to the tomb of Jesus Christ? What did she see?
She saw...
And the disciples.
You mean inside of the tomb?
Yes.
Angels?
Angels.
Yeah.
In one account, it's 2 angels. Another account, it's 1 angel. And so it's filled with these stories. That's the point. Yeah. Even Abraham, when the 3 angels, when they came to him, when they're on their way to the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yes.
Right? And Lot, the guests of Lot, who were they? They were these 3 angels, these 3 men that are not human beings, but rather they came from above.
Yeah.
Messengers from the skies.
Yes.
And so that's kind of like the entire, right, Judeo-Christian Islamic story.
Yeah.
The story of encounters that are taking place between human beings and those messengers from the skies.
Yes.
And you even have Ezekiel and his encounter of the wheels, right? Ezekiel's wheels. What happened in that vision? Ezekiel, he encounters these wheels that are spinning, that come down. He describes them as a chariot of fire, right?
Yes, yeah.
This chariot of fire, what's a chariot? A chariot is a vehicle.
Yeah.
A fire means what? It means that it's lit up, it's bright.
Yeah.
It has light.
Yeah.
It's a chariot of light, a lit up vehicle that is in the sky, that descends down, and Ezekiel witnesses this taking place.
Yeah.
And there are people that are, or something, or a creature, or an intelligence that is inside of the wheels that's speaking to Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you have Elijah also, who was taken up
in a chariot of fire.
In a chariot of fire.
People have drawn a parallel between these 2 events. Yeah.
And you have Enoch, who walked with the Lord, and then he was taken away, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So now what's happening? We have people, accounts that were preserved in the Torah, in the Gospels, in the Quran, in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and their traditions, stories of the prophets and messengers and people that have had encounters with large vehicles that descend down on the earth that are very bright and have light, or that travel in the clouds, that contain within them messengers that speak to human beings or visit human beings, interact with human beings in the form of human beings, but in reality, they are described as being angels or emissaries from God Almighty, right? Yes. Ambassadors from God that are giving instructions to man on how to interact.
Yeah.
And then in modern day, you have, in modern times, you have people that are disbelieving in the Bible and in religion altogether, because they say that these wondrous stories and encounters that God had with mankind no longer is happening. It's no longer existing.
Yeah.
You know? So therefore, because it's not happening, and these are describing fantastical things that happened before, we can't believe in it because there's no evidence of it right now, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. It's like somebody that says, you know, like tales of unicorns or dragons, and we don't see dragons today. So therefore, dragons must have never existed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's also always the possibility that dragons did exist, but we just haven't found evidence of them.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But we do find a different phenomenon taking place in modern times.
Yeah.
So this old phenomenon went away, but a new phenomenon happened. Or is it the same phenomenon? And that is the appearance of lights in the sky, objects that are flying around, objects that have been painted in paintings from the 1400s and the 1500s, stories that have been passed from one generation to another, from hundreds of years ago and also from modern times, that are not describing these things as angels, but are describing them as extraterrestrials or people that come from a different planet, or, aliens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an amazing question, because, like, as you said, these events are not happening anymore. People are they're critical of religion for this reason. They're saying these things aren't happening. We're not having these appearances of chariots of fire and beings appearing as angels, or these hybrid creatures, or any of these things that we've spoken about. But we clearly do have something else that's taking place. And a lot of, especially nowadays, a lot of people are taking note, and even governments are acknowledging that there are unexplained objects in the sky.
Exactly. So now it is a fact here that there are people that are claiming to witness the same things that the people in the Bible were claiming to witness, which is what? Vehicles in the skies, right? People with wings, or people that come from the skies up above.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they've reported there's hundreds of thousands of accounts of people throughout history that have claimed to have been abducted by aliens, right? And have been told by these aliens certain things. They have been given missions, or told that, given warnings that humanity is on the brink of destruction, or given visions of a world that's to come, right?
Yeah.
Told things, shown things, taken for a ride up in the chariots, taken like Elijah was taken, right?
Yeah.
Or given messages like the prophets and the messengers were given messages, or they witnessed these vehicles descending down, just like Ezekiel witnessed these vehicles, this chariot descending down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's clear that this is very likely the exact same thing taking place in our modern time, just described in a different way.
You have images of creatures that are mixed together, animal, human, and you have stories and tales of experiments that have taken place by people who claim that they were abducted upon ships and they were handed babies, or they were impregnated with alien sperm, and they gave birth to a mixture of an alien human hybrid. And you have also accounts in the Bible which talk about how there was these beings that wanted that they fell in love with or in some of the Gospels, the Gnostic Gospels, the manuscripts, about how some of the Nephilim, they desired the daughters of man.
Yeah.
That the sons of God desired the daughters of man, and they began to multiply with them,
yeah.
right? And they gave birth to the giants, is what they called them.
Yeah.
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 So the parallel is clear. The phenomenon has remained consistent and the same. The names or the titles that we are giving them have changed. Yeah. Okay. But essentially what they are describing is the same. Some people are taking the older accounts in a religious context, right?
Yes.
Possibly because of the simplicity that must have been used in the language that the prophets and the messengers were utilizing in order to communicate this idea or these events to the people that were living at their time, because they had no concepts of technology and other planets and other worlds that are out there. They didn't even know the nature of their own world or how that existed, let alone to understand these types of things. So the prophets and messengers would just say that they're angels from the Lord, right?
Yeah.
And today you have the same things being described, but giving, being stripped of any sort of religious context and being studied as a scientific phenomenon, right? And that is backed up by physics and probability and everything else. That, okay, since there are billions and billions and almost an infinite amount of stars out there in this ever expanding universe, then there must also be an endless amount of planets that are capable of sustaining life, just like our planet.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then there must be a percentage of those planets that have on it life that has advanced to such a degree that it is similar to our planet. Yeah. Right? And then there must be a certain percentage of those planets that have advanced or have existed long before our planet has, and therefore they must have achieved some sort of ability to be able to travel from one planet to another planet.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Very fascinating.
And you have eyewitness accounts and videos and things that are coming out nowadays, really in the public in such a way that's never happened before.
Yeah.
Previously, they've sought to cover things up. And they had secret bases like Area 51, where they were allegedly keeping alien technology for a very long time, or certain Air Force bases where they were storing, the remains from crashes, alleged UFO crashes that took place. For example, like the one that happened in 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico, which is extremely famous. And then the government came out and they made a press release saying that they have actually recovered the UFO, and then they retracted that story and put out a new story basically saying something ridiculous like it was a weather balloon causing this decades-long conspiracy theory, and people to be obsessed with and make Roswell, New Mexico, kind of like this mecca of UFO, retreats and a place where UFO, hunters could go and try to investigate the truth of what happened in that time.
Yeah.
You have in the Islamic sources this idea too, and a lot of hadiths, a lot of narrations, and a lot of stories about how there's these other beings that inhabit the skies along with angels, right? And these other beings are called Jinn. And the Jinn in the Quran, they sit in the skies above, right? And they in space, and the space that we can see with the naked eye, and they are spying on the angels and over listening to their plans, and spying on human beings from places that we cannot perceive them, or places that we cannot see them. But we know it is space because the Quran states that whenever one of them now attempts to listen, that they find a comet or a meteor that's being sent forward to strike them. And so there's a supernatural reason that's given for the existence of comets and meteors. When it happens, it's happening because it is striking down. It's used as an attack or a weapon against the jinn that are up there that are listening. Well, what else do modern civilizations, modern countries today use to spy on other nations? They use satellites. Where are satellites? Spy satellites. They're in the space, in the skies above, right?
Yeah.
So when the Prophet Muhammad, or when the Quran was talking about these comets or meteors that are going forward to strike these jinn, were they talking about every comet and meteor that might just be a rock that just so happens to come by? Or are they talking about the idea that perhaps there are these beings that are up there, angels, that are operating in that space above, that are in chariots of fire, that are traveling in the spaces above our heavens, and they're shooting at these other possible chariots or beings that are hovering also in our upper atmosphere in space? And from the perspective of a person who's standing on Earth, he's unable to distinguish between the comets and the meteors that kind of like scrape this light that just scrapes through the sky, the shooting star, so to speak, and between a weapon that's being used by one extraterrestrial intelligence against another extraterrestrial intelligence.
Yeah.
And we got to also address this whole word extraterrestrial. What does terrestrial mean? Terrestrial simply means something which, belongs on the planet Earth.
Yes.
Something that walks and lives on the planet.
Yeah.
Extraterrestrial means something that is not native to the planet Earth, something which is from a different place above, right?
Yeah.
Outside of this realm of Earth, right?
Yes.
And that's the same thing with extra dimensional. It's something that's outside of this dimension.
Yes.
So, is it appropriate? Is it acceptable? Would it be correct to state that jinn are and angels are extraterrestrial beings? Well, I mean, angels aren't native to the planet.
Yeah, by definition.
Angels are and would be called what?
Extraterrestrials, yes.
Extraterrestrials.
Wow. I mean, my mind is blown. You made it so clear. And I think that it's really important, the point that you brought up about how the prophets and the messengers in the times that they were living, they didn't have the language, the people didn't have the understanding that we have today. Technology has advanced really far. Now we have such a thing as a spaceship and a satellite, and we use a completely different terminology. So the language that we're seeing described in the scriptures is the language that was appropriate for the people of the time. But that does not mean that it's not talking about the same thing. In fact, I think it's rather clear that it is talking about the same thing.
Yeah, and I think it makes people really uncomfortable. And part of the idea on of why governments believe that this must be a safeguarded secret is because it brings up too many questions that will rub people in the wrong way and perhaps bring along the apocalypse itself. That's why it's top secret and classified. Oh. Because imagine if people discovered that extraterrestrials were real. Yeah. They would automatically have to ask and question the validity of the Bible. Okay, well, what does that mean in regards to my religion? What does that mean in regards to the Quran? What does that mean in regards to the Torah? What did God say about these people? Right? So then they'd look and they'd find like, okay, well, God's Lord of the worlds in the Quran. So there's other worlds. So maybe they're just, people from these other worlds. But then there would be a lot of people that would say, no. If these aliens are interacting with us like God would have told us, he wouldn't have left us without a warning, So therefore, these people must be demons, or these people must be Jinn, or these people must be angels, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then it becomes the thing of like, okay, well, if they're angels, well, then what about the demons? Are the demons also extraterrestrials that are from above? Yeah. Well, then in that case, like, who is my government actually making deals with? Who are we having peace with? Wow. Like, who's talking to me? Yeah. Is it good people or bad people?
Yeah, it opens up this whole can of worms.
It does open up this whole can of worms. Yeah. And then it becomes a thing of like, okay, okay, let me follow with you for a moment. If the angels and the demons, or if the angels are extraterrestrials, how do I know that what does that even mean? Is Jesus and the prophets, like, are the aliens too? Right. Are they alien human hybrids? Right. How do we know that the aliens weren't deceiving us? That they didn't just create religion altogether for the sole purpose of controlling us here on Earth, Wow. When in reality, they don't even believe in it and they got something else that's going on. How do we know that they didn't create religion to enslave us and turn us against one another or to keep us compliant and obedient to them?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, when you bring up these questions, it would expand the nature of our understanding of reality entirely. We think we know the whole story, and then all of a sudden the story is much greater. There's all of these beings existing that we never knew about, and all these questions come to mind. I can understand why people are afraid of the impact that it could have, and why it has remained so secretive for the past decades. Even when evidence was starting to come out, the governments were like keeping it hush-hush and they were not confirming it. But it seems like that's changing now. It seems like now they're unable to keep it a secret. And I'm grateful that we have the man of God who's able to explain the reality to us, because if we didn't have that, as you said, there would be all of these disturbing questions that there would be no answer to.
Well, Tiffany, there was this guy whose name was Bob Lazar. And Bob Lazar was this guy who came out and he said that he worked at Area 51. Yeah. Yeah. And there's, he's a very controversial figure and a leading figure and voice in the UFO movement and awareness, community. And this guy, who is extremely credible, all right? And many of the things that he said, technologies that the government have obtained from extraterrestrials, like all that stuff that he described and said that they had, today it's been confirmed that these things do exist. And there's even many documentaries that were made about this guy that people can look into. One of the things that he stated, which is important for today's episode, on why the UFO phenomenon was basically kept secret, why it was classified. And he said that he had access to these classified documents, which basically said that something which he described at the time as being outrageous. Like, it shocked him. It sounds so unbelievable to the people at that time, but today it doesn't sound too unbelievable. He said that they found out, the government found out from their dealings with the extraterrestrials that, you know, because Bob Lazar had claimed that there were even deals that were made between the U.S. government and these extraterrestrials, and that's what's led to a jump in technology, and that these beings, you know, they come and some of their ships were captured, others have there's been physical contact that was established. The extraterrestrials, the document said, viewed human beings on the planet as containers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Containers, and that's one of the reasons why this whole thing has been kept as classified. And I want to play that clip for the viewers now.
It's so far out.
Your objection has been noted.
Okay.
What does it say?
That we're containers. That's how supposedly the aliens look at us. That we are nothing but containers.
Containers of?
Containers. Maybe containers of souls. You can come up with whatever theory you want, but we're containers, and that's how we're mentioned in the document. That religion was specifically created, so we had some rules and regulations for the sole purpose of not damaging the containers.
And so when you take that Bob Lazar said, and you take even the odd interview that Tucker Carlson did recently, and the things that they've been speaking on the media, where he said that like there's things that he can't even say on TV that are so dark and so strange and out there in regards to the UFO topic, that those who really look into it and figure out what's going on, they'll be deeply disturbed. And you put those two together, Bob Lazar with the comments of Tucker Carlson, which also we'll play for you right now.
There are parts of that story that I do not understand at all that are really, really, really dark. There's some stuff there that's just like, man, I'm not even sure what that means. There's a spiritual component there that I don't fully understand. That story bothers me. The public can't deal with it. It's too far out. The implications are too profound. It's like, holy smokes, this is heavy. You know what I mean?
And the government's involvement in it makes it even heavier, because then you realize the complicity.
Exactly.
You kind of get this strange picture of extraterrestrial beings that have the ability to have a human experience on Earth and live amongst us and move amongst us and hide amongst us and speak to us in human form. Yeah. But they're not from here. They are extraterrestrial consciousness that is possessing an extraterrestrial spirit or soul that is possessing or wearing a human body. Wow. And then you go back to the Bible and you think to yourself, oh my God. Yeah. Every time there was a man from the sky. Yes. Every time there was an angel that appeared. Yeah. He came as a human. Yeah. Even the Quran says. And if we would have brought down an angel, we would have made him a man.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Absolutely. And sometimes the language is that he had the appearance of a man, but it's not that
he was a man.
He was literally exactly a man. So we have what you said, this consciousness possessing the form that makes people believe that it is a human when it's actually not. It's very disturbing.
It is extremely disturbing.
When you think about like encountering some of these beings. Yeah.
And you have also these very interesting narrations, okay, that come from Muhammad and the family of Muhammad alayhi salam, the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, which speak about how in the time of the Qa'im is seen at different points as descending in these domes from the skies.
Okay.
He travels in these 7 domes that are floating in the sky, and he descends from one of them. And the narration states it's not known in which one of those domes he is. And you have also narrations that state that when the Qa'im comes, that he comes in the clouds, in reference to the coming of the Son of Man in the book of Revelation, right?
In the clouds,
and in the prophecy that he's coming in the clouds, right?
Yes.
So what do we have again? We have the Qa'im, the savior figure, appearing, traveling, descending from a chariot that is in the clouds or hidden behind the clouds. And you have stories and tales of government officials and of individuals that state that these UFOs love to hide themselves in the clouds in order that they are not detected. And when they travel, they tend to travel within the clouds or travel as a cloud in the sky.
Wow. Incredible. I mean, you're giving me goosebumps. I think our reality is about to break wide open. Because as we know, we're living in the time of the Qa'im.
So this is a gigantic topic, Tiffany.
Yeah.
I think we'll stop there at this point so that we don't make the episode too long, but we will follow this episode up with several episodes where we're going to talk about more about what Muhammad and the family of Muhammad said about angels, about Jinn, and about extraterrestrials in particular.
Okay.
Are there any narrations that spoke about that, including a very unique narration that spoke about how a man in the time of one of the imams found the body of a being that had fallen from the skies above.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
And we will talk about what this dawah has to say about that topic and about the different types of extraterrestrials that exist out there, and whether or not they are good or bad or a mixture of both.
Okay.
God bless you, Tiffany, and thank you for joining me again.
Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to learn more about this amazing topic.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.